It's something we all think about, right? This idea that getting older means our minds just aren't going to be as sharp. It's this big, universal worry. But what if I told you the real story of brain aging is actually way more hopeful and way more empowering than you've probably heard? All right, let's get into it.
So, have you ever done this? You've walked into a room and completely forgotten why you're there. Or you just met someone and their name is gone. It happens to literally everyone. But it feels different as we get older, doesn't it? In our 20s, we just laugh it off. But later on, it can feel a little scary. It makes you wonder, okay, what's just a normal memory slip and what's something I should actually worry about?
Okay, let's get the biggest fear out of the way right now. Alzheimer's and other dementias are diseases. They are not a normal part of getting older. And this slide really breaks it down. So, finding it a little tougher to juggle a bunch of tasks at once, or maybe taking an extra second to pull up someone's name, that's often just a part of the brain's normal, subtle changes over a lifetime. It is a completely different ballgame from a neurodegenerative disease. So, if it's not a disease, then what is actually going on inside our heads as the years go by? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the biology that scientists have seen in a normally aging brain.
Well, scientists have really zeroed in on four key areas where we see some changes. You can kind of think of it like an old car. The overall size might change a bit, the wiring gets a little older, and even the fluids that keep it running aren't exactly the same. For our brains, this means we can see some changes in the overall mass, a bit of thinning in the cortex, that's that wrinkly outer layer, some updates to its internal wiring, and shifts in our neurotransmitters. Those are the chemical messengers that let our brain cells talk to each other.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that it's not like the whole brain just shrinks evenly. Nope, the changes are actually most noticeable in a few key neighborhoods. We're talking about the frontal lobe, that's our CEO, in charge of planning and decision-making, and the hippocampus, which is absolutely critical for making new memories.
And what about that wiring I mentioned? That's your white matter. Think of it like the super high-speed internet cables of your brain. It's all these nerve fibers zipping signals from one area to another. And over time, the protective insulation on those cables, it's called myelin, can get a little thinner. The result? Well, the signal speed can slow down a bit, which might be why we feel like our thinking is just a little less zippy sometimes.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but this is where the story gets really, really good. The latest science is flipping the script, and it's showing us that serious cognitive decline is absolutely not a sure thing.
I mean, just look at this quote. This is a potential game changer. It comes from a study in mice, and what these researchers found is just incredible. Turns out stem cells in a part of the brain called the hypothalamus are kind of like a control center for aging. And by tweaking these cells, they could actually slow down and in some ways even reverse parts of the aging process. Now, it's still early days, but wow, this just blows the doors open on what might be possible for us. And we don't even have to look at mice for inspiration. We have living, breathing proof right here. They're called superagers. These are amazing folks in their 80s, 90s, and beyond whose memories are as sharp as people 20 or 30 years younger. They are walking, talking proof of the brain's incredible power to stay resilient. So what's their secret? How do they do it? Well, researchers have found that the brains of superagers shrink at a much, much slower rate than their peers. That's what the slide is showing. It's the first real biological proof that fighting back against age-related memory loss isn't just a fantasy. It's totally possible. And that brings us to the best part of this whole explainer. Because if we know a resilient mind is possible, the next question is, what can we do about it? So let's get practical. Let's open up the toolkit.
What's amazing is that when you look at the people who keep their minds sharpest the longest, they tend to share a few key habits. And here's the good news. We're not talking about some complicated, expensive medical procedure. We're talking about lifestyle choices, things that every single one of us can start doing.
Seriously, if you're going to pick just one thing from this whole list to focus on, make it this one. Over and over again, study after study shows that physical exercise is one of the most powerful things we can do to protect our brains as we age, and the science behind why it works is so cool. So, just how powerful is it? Get this, a major study found that people over 50 who got regular, moderate to high-intensity exercise had brains that functioned on average like they were 10 years younger than their peers who didn't exercise. 10 years. Think about that. That is a huge deal.
It's because exercise boosts blood flow to your brain, it cuts down on inflammation, and it releases this incredible stuff called BDNF, which is basically like fertilizer for your brain cells. I mean, what a return on investment, right? Okay, so beyond just getting up and moving, what else can we put in our toolkit? Well, how about learning a musical instrument? It is like a full body workout for your brain. You're building new connections, you're rewiring pathways, it can even make your hearing better. And of course, we absolutely cannot forget about food, the actual fuel that powers your brain all day, every day. So what does a brain-healthy plate actually look like? Well, it's packed with things like leafy greens, think spinach and kale. It's got avocados and eggs, which are full of a nutrient called lutein. You definitely want those healthy omega-3 fatty acids from things like oily fish. And generally, diets like the Mediterranean diet or the Mind diet have been shown again and again to be fantastic for long-term brain health.
So, as we start to bring this all together, the big picture becomes crystal clear. We can't stop time, but we have way more power than we thought over how our brains handle the ride.
Let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, those minor "where are my keys" moments, don't sweat them. They're often totally normal. Second, the story of the superagers proves that a sharp mind in your 80s and 90s is not a fairy tale. It's possible. And third, and this is the most important one, the choices you make every single day with your diet, your exercise, and what you learn, those are your absolute best weapons for building a strong, resilient mind for life. And that brings us to the final and most personal question of all. This isn't about changing your entire life tomorrow. It's just about starting. So after everything we've talked about, what's the one thing, the one small change that you can do today to start investing in your own amazing brain?